Hi, I'm Amy Stasiewicz, and welcome to The Minutes. Thanks for listening today. It's great to have you along on The Minutes. This is the City of Thunder Bay podcast. The Minutes takes a look at what happened at Thunder Bay City Council and standing committee meetings. But this week, we have a special edition of the show where we'll be chatting about the city's operating budget. You can find The Minutes wherever you get your podcasts, including our YouTube channel and our website, thunderbay.ca/theminutes. If you want to keep your fingers on the pulse of what's happening at City Hall, hit that subscribe button. The city's operating budget was released to the public on January 16th, and there's currently an opportunity for residents to give their feedback. On today's episode, I'll be interviewing Keri Greaves, Commissioner of Corporate Services and the city's treasurer. Keri will break down the budget process and clear up some questions that some of you might have. So let's get started. The budget is much more than numbers. Each time you call the police, your garbage is collected, your roads and sidewalks are plowed, or you visit a park, you're witnessing tax dollars at work. Each year, city staff and council look at the services we provide, how much they cost, and how they are paid for. The 2026 operating budget outlines how public funds will be allocated to maintain existing services, meet evolving community needs, and invest in the city's future. Keri Greaves is the Commissioner of Corporate Services and the city's treasurer. Hi, Keri. Thanks for coming to the Minute Studio today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so most of us don't come from an accounting background, so I'll start off with some general questions for our listeners who might not fully understand some of these terms. Okay, so what is the difference between the capital budget and the operating budget?
Yeah, so I like to think about it as, capital is the infrastructure, operating is the day-to-day operations. So if you think of it as a road, building the road and everything that goes underneath it, that would be a capital type of expenditure. Maintaining that road, filling potholes, plowing that road, sanding and cleaning the road, those are operating. So really it's the larger, more complex, construction costs would be considered capital, and the day-to-day maintenance and operations of would be on the operating budget. Same thing goes for programs and services. Generally, programs and services are going to be operating. Running a hockey rink, operating. Building the facility would be capital.
Now let's talk about the big topic this month, the operating budget. How far in advance does your team start actually looking at the operating budget for the upcoming year?
Well, the budget team, the budget team is it's a year-round exercise. There is no real break in
right.
Budgeting for the budget team. You think about the budget as a year-round process. Yeah, the exciting part is the setting of the budget, but throughout the year you got to monitor actuals against that budget, and that will ultimately feed future budgets. So if we have our processes in place throughout the year, it makes budgeting a lot more easier. In terms of the actual putting together of the 2026 budget, that usually begins in May, when we start thinking about what the cost drivers are going to be for the following year. We put that together, and then really what happens is in the summertime is when the budget office starts reaching out to the various departments to start putting that together. And you know what, the budget office, we think about it as the budget office being the process owner. The content actually belongs to the department. So
right.
We put in processes to make sure that the forecasts are in place, that the cost drivers are known and established. But we've really taken the information from the various departments and what their needs are, in program enhancements, staff requirements, and the budget team's job is to put that together. It's a bunch of tables, and then tell the story. Like, budgeting, historically in terms of municipalities, most organizations, they're spreadsheets. They're just a sum of numbers. What we've tried to do the last 2 years especially is to tell that story so that the people, the public, and council ultimately have a really strong understanding of what where those dollars are going.
Right. I did like that. I did read through. It does. It's like a storytelling in the beginning, kind of gives you background or explains things. Like there's some numbers in the beginning of the budget package, but yeah, it's good. I learned a lot when I read through it. There's an organization. It's based out of the U.S. It's the Government Finance Officers Association, and their mandate is to make sure that that governments, particularly local governments, have the tools in place, have the tools available to them, so that they can deliver transparent, informative documents for council, but in this case more for the public, so that there's a but the budget it's a big document. It's very heavy. Yeah.
And this organization's mandate is to promote more transparent documents. And so last year when we redesigned the budget, we submitted that the document to the GFOA to be essentially graded against the various program requirements, and we met the requirements, and we were actually awarded with a distinguished budget award. So basically what it is, it's a third-party organization affirming that the City of Thunder Bay is publishing a transparent document.
Right. And so that's amazing. And then will you submit then again this year?
Yeah. So we feel that the budget still meets those requirements. We have continued to evolve what the document looks like. So I think we've actually improved in a few different areas. So we think we will still meet the requirements, and we will be putting submitting it for another year.
So you mentioned City Council, and so what is City Council's role exactly with the operating budget?
Yeah, so ultimately, service levels are determined by City Council. Administration takes those service level standards and presents what the financial requirements are to meet those. City Council set a mandate for administration. So back in August, administration recommended a mandate to council based on the 4-year rolling average of the CPI, and so that worked out to 2.6%. And so administration recommended that to council. Council approved that, and they also asked us to communicate with the agencies, boards, and commissions that where the city is responsible for funding, and ask them to try to align their budgets to that target.
You mentioned CPI. What exactly is CPI?
Yeah, so CPI stands for the Consumer Price Index, and it's a measure of inflation. Costs are always going up. The CPI is supposed to be a measure of that inflationary impact. It's based on a basket of goods that any household would use. So really, it's you're looking at groceries, utility bills. If you have a mortgage interest costs are in there. We all know that municipalities don't really live by that same basket of goods. So a basket of goods for a municipality would be asphalt and people. So they're not really, you can't really compare. I think the municipality, the city would usually more closely follow the building construction price index, which is, as it says, it's the cost of more construction raw materials.
Okay.
So our So we've used the CPI as our measure to set the mandate, because we recognize that residents pay their property taxes, and they are living with that basket of goods. So the intent of the mandate was really to try to keep the property tax bills affordable based on what residents are experiencing.
In the document, it talks about tax-supported and rate-supported operating budget. What is the difference between those?
Yeah. So rate-supported very easily is those programs and services that are solely funded by user fees. So your water bill. The water bills are intended to pay for all the operating and capital requirements of the water plant. Wastewater, the same thing. Landfill. So the fees that are charged to cross the scales are used to maintain the landfill facility. The tax supported is everything else. So we have rate supported programs for water, wastewater, landfill, border services, and the parking services. Everything else is funded in whole or in part through the tax through the tax bill.
Right, and there are other, like I know a lot of it is the property taxes that people pay, but there's other ways that the city pays for things too, right?
Yeah. So something like emergency management, the Superior North EMS, they are heavily provincially funded, and so whatever's not funded by the province or other revenues is what we call the net cost, and the net cost eventually becomes the tax bill.
Right. Yeah, and there's some other grants and things depending on the area.
Yeah, we do receive quite a bit of federal and provincial funding. There is some programs and services where we charge user fees. They're not rate supported, but the user fees contribute to running the program.
Okay, right. Okay, so the municipal tax levy will increase this year by 4%. Obviously, there's tons of contributing factors, but can you explain a bit how the city got to this percentage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, back in August, administration recommended a mandate so that the tax levy increase would be no more than 2.6%, again, based on the rolling average of CPI. And then we were also asked to reach out to the agency's boards and commissions and ask them to align their budgets to that rate as well. Through the budget deliberation process, internally, we were able to reach that 2.6% on the city, those programs and services that the city directly controls. However, the agency's boards and commissions, while some of them were able to meet that 2.6% target, others weren't. And so those, we call them ABCs, those ABCs have really driven the overall tax rate from 2.6% to 4%.
Right. And what would, like you're talking about the ABCs, what would an organization, like, can you give some examples of what some of them are?
Yeah, there's a handful. There's the CDC, the Thunder Bay Public Library, Thunder Bay Police Services, and their board, the two BIAs, so the Waterfront District BIA and the Victoria Avenue BIA, and then those are the ABCs where the City of Thunder Bay actually approves their budgets every year. There's three other organizations that are considered ABCs, but they levy the municipality. There's the city doesn't actually have a say in what their budgets are. So that would be the Thunder Bay District Health Unit, the Lakehead Regional Conservation Association, and the Thunder Bay DSAB. So they determine their budgetary needs and just levy the city, and the city is required to pay through by legislation.
Okay, interesting. And so Is city administration or city council actually involved in the budget process of the ABCs, or you give them a mandate and then they work on their budget, come back? Like, what's the process there?
Yeah. So we do work well with the ABCs, the ones where city council actually approves their budgets. We don't for the DSAB and the health unit and the LRCA. Well, they basically present their budgetary needs and they'll present their levy to us after their boards have approved them. The other ones that they are invited to our EOT budget deliberations. They know what we are hoping for in terms of an overall levy, but ultimately they are responsible for putting together a budget that meets their needs. And the city, while we can ask them to reduce from an administrative perspective, generally their boards have their boards are the governing authority on their budgets, and once those boards approve the budget, administration's role really is to present that to City Council to make a decision.
I think you mentioned there were some service enhancements for 2026. Can you explain what some of these enhancements are?
Yeah, so if you think about it, in terms of themes, last year the big theme was growth, and throughout 2025, we particularly the growth team put together the Smart Growth Action Plan, which was approved by Council. If you look at the 2026 themes, that theme of growth is going to continue, but we also have new areas where we've administrations identified that we think we can make some significant improvements in. So, in particular, in the area of safety and security. So, through this budget, through the 2026 budget, there's really two pilots that are being proposed. One being the mobile safety and security response pilot, which would see a team that can move around the city, probably more focused on transit hubs at first. That's been identified as an area where some additional resources are needed, and so the team would have the ability to respond to those incidences where it doesn't really rise to a police response. It could be really just this team attending the scene, potentially trespassing individuals who are causing disturbances, and if need be, escalating it to the police. So that's one item that we've proposed as an enhancement. There's also the Downtown Safety Ambassadors Program. Again, something that we think that will help improve the perception of safety in the cores. We also have, thanks to some changes in the provincial funding formula, there's the ability to unlock 25 new childcare spaces, which I think is something that this community really needs, is more childcare. And so we've increased the budget, the FTE, the full-time equivalent staff budget for childcare. So again, these are all things that are we believe the community would benefit by, but ultimately it's City Council's decision of whether or not we move forward with any of these enhancements.
Right, and another one, T-Baytown Multiplex, is coming up this year, so there's a few big things.
Yeah, so T-Baytown Multiplex, so we expect the construction to be completed in the fall. There's some ramping up of hiring of staff, getting the people ready to operate the facilities. And then, in future years, we expect that to be, break even at this point. So there would be no, impact on the taxpayer for that. It wouldn't be considered necessarily a rate supporter program, but the user fees are expected to offset the costs of operation.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about these enhancements, but I know people might be wondering when they see the 4% increase on their property tax bill, when can they expect to see this adjustment for this year?
Yeah. So the residents will be getting their interim property tax bills shortly, based on the prior year. Once the budget is approved, our revenue division will, put together a proposed tax policy, and that tax policy is really what determines what the residents will see on their property tax bill. So it depends on what the tax ratios are going to be set at. Right now, based on the current tax policy, we expect residents to see an extra $72 for every $100,000 of a property assessment on their for their house. So that'll be dependent on the size of the house and the value.
Right. Okay. So finally, if residents have a suggestion or comment about the budget, where can they go to give their feedback?
Yeah, so we did hold a pop-up event at the Country Market last weekend that we actually got quite a bit of feedback. It was really nice to see people interact with the budget, the city in terms of the budget. So a lot of people stopped by there. We're having another pop-up event at Winter Fun Days on Sunday from 2 to 4. Hopefully the weather will be nice enough that we can do this outside, but we have an alternate plan to move it indoors if need be. And as always, we have a survey available on our website at our Get Involved page at www.thunderbay.ca/getinvolved. And we really want residents to interact with us through that survey and tell us what your priorities are and what anything that basically we're going to tabulate all those results, and we're going to present those to City Council prior to the February 3rd ratification vote. So the Council will have a full understanding of what these survey results are, and that may influence their decision. Okay,
and the Get Involved survey is available until January 29th, right?
Correct.
And also, if people don't have access to online, they can get paper copies at the public libraries and at City Hall clerk desk, yes. I believe.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, amazing. Tons of great info. Thanks so much for breaking down the budget process to us and for coming by to chat with me today.
Thanks for having me.
That's it for this week's episode of The Minutes. A big thank you to Keri Greaves, Commissioner of Corporate Services and the City's Treasurer, for joining us today. Don't forget to check out the Get Involved survey and fill it out by January 29th. There are also some really great tools on our city website and Facebook page with infographics and other helpful information explaining the 2026 budget. If you want more information about City Council, agendas, or minutes, visit thunderbay.ca/council. You can catch the minutes every week wherever you get your podcasts, on our YouTube channel or on our website at thunderbay.ca/theminutes. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. I'm Amy. Thanks again for listening to The Minutes, and have a great day.